Hello, hello, let's go. We are Vikings fans. We're 8-1. We're built for this. We just beat the Buffalo Bills, and we're about to spit some hot takes. Are you ready, Eric?
I am so ready. Are there any teams with a better record than in the NFL than the Minnesota Vikings right now? There are
Uh,
not.
There are
We,
not.
we're over halfway through the season. We can say that. Who would have thought? So yes, let's get going and talk some hot takes.
Let's do it.
What's your take? What's your take? Let's go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes. Well. We are here, partially. Something weird happened. I don't know if it's World War III starting or what. But we lost everybody. They both dropped off at the same time. Have no idea why. Let's bring somebody in. Come on. Eric. There's Eric.
Hey, I'm
No,
no longer in the green room. Okay, something dropped.
something strange happened. Um,
Yes.
I have no idea what it was. Oops, wrong one. Let me bring you back. There we go. Try to bring in Flip. Flip's in the dark for some reason. If I've got him. There he is.
We're back.
But can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, we're back.
I
Let's
don't
just
know what the
pretend
heck
nothing
happened.
happened.
We go to the roll in and you guys went poof.
Yep,
And
I
it
got
was
kicked
All
out
I heard
gone.
was
of
Eric
the
say something
Smoking
about a
Board.
mustache,
Yeah,
and
I
then
was talking
everybody
about yeah.
dropped.
Uh-huh.
I was talking about bringing back in that pre-roll the it has the clip of me and the mustache. I'm like, I should do that pretty soon, but I gotta wait a little longer.
I
I
mean,
like to stay married.
this is the season. The fans are already going.
Well,
There
hold
we
So
on.
go. We're back.
welcome
Let me
to
address
the
Michael.
fast moving Minnesota Vikings talk show, Viking Hot Takes. We've got 6 questions, 20 minutes, and the fans with the answers in the comments after the game of the century. Eric, are you ready?
I after Sunday, I am ready for anything because there's nothing left. That's it. So yeah, let's go.
Let's do the first question.
Hold on.
Hit.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I want to address Michael. He asked any word on Mary. Mary is
mhm.
still in the hospital. As of last night, I have not talked to her today. We wish her our best. She has COVID, and
Mm.
with her age, it's hitting her hard. So keep her in your prayers, if you believe in
We're
it.
Prayers up
sending
for
our
Mary.
we're sending our best, Mary. You're one of our favorites every week. It's great to see. So we hope to have you back in the chat soon.
And I will pop off and start the clock.
All right.
All right, Eric. 6 questions. Let's start with number one. The Vikings are 8-1. They're at the top of the NFL. There is literally nowhere to go but down from here. Are you ready for the rest of the season?
Read your question. What you actually asked me. Are you ready to get hurt again?
Are you
I
ready to get hurt again?
Of course I am. I'm a Vikings fan. I'm still here after all these years. I've been through all, 4, 5, 6 NFC championship losses in my life. I can't keep track now. I think it's 5, but it's yeah, why not? This is fun. Like again, the 8-1. There's a ton of season to go. It could go 100 different ways. Sunday's game went 100 different ways. But right as of right now, why not? This is great. It's almost house money already. Like we're at the point. This is a first year coach, first year GM. We are going to kind of try to rebuild on the fly. Remember that was the like what's I thought the ceiling for this team was like 11-6 tops, and that obviously has risen. Like the Vikings keep winning these games, and the regression, that's been happening. All these stats are like, okay, the Vikings can't just keep, it's like the Breaking Bad meme. He can't keep getting away with this, that that gif with Jesse. But they do keep getting away with it. They keep on winning, and now when you go into Buffalo, as crazy and wild and as many times the Vikings could have lost that game, being down 17 points, they came in to one of the best teams stadiums in the NFL, still the Super Bowl favorites. If they have the best odds to win the Super Bowl after that game, the Buffalo Bills, they went in there and won in wild and crazy and sometimes impressive, sometimes horrifying fashion. You have to take them serious now, and that's fun. And yes, we are also Vikings fans. It might end up terrible. It might go down the toilet. We might get kicked in the groin for the 15th straight time in the NFC Championship game. But man, if they get there, like if they make a playoff run, that's good. Good. Yeah, let's go for it. Why not get hurt again? That's sports. You're supposed to get your hopes up. You're supposed to be excited 8-1 at a crazy 33-30 overtime victory. It with the greatest catch probably ever made. That is really, really fun. So yes, I am more than ready to get hurt again. And it's this season again. I wrote a couple weeks ago before the Commanders game even. It's like enjoy this season. This is fun. This is what sports are all about. And if it ends up getting hurt, well, then we can just chalk it up to being Vikings fans again. But enjoy the ride while if you can't enjoy the good parts now, why stick around for the bad parts?
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm about to say a lot of things that are going to sound very scary if you're superstitious about Vikings football. But for someone who thought we were going to go 8-9, we're already 8-1. It's just like what does getting hurt even look like? If they go 3-5 down the stretch, they still end up at 11-6. And if
That's
they
NFC
make the
North champs.
playoffs,
Yep.
the NFC North champs in Kevin O'Connell's first year, in Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's first year, literally worst case scenario is we found our GM and our head coach for the next decade. That's what it's looking like right now. And we have a shot at the 1 seed. So am I going to get hurt if we don't get the 1 seed? No. Am I going to be hurt if they don't win the NFC North? That might hurt a lot. That might
That
hurt
one
a
would hurt.
bit.
That one might hurt.
But
But
there's
this is so fun.
literally a less than a 10% chance of that happening. So I'm ready to get hurt again. I hope y'all are too.
I love it. This is fun. If you can't be having fun right now at 8-1, I don't. You probably shouldn't be cheering for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Okay, my first question for you. I already alluded to it a couple times. You know my opinion on it. Was that the craziest regular season game you have ever watched on Sunday?
Oh, there are so many. This question makes you want to go back and try to think about other crazy games. I don't want to do that. I just want to think about this game. Our good friend Matt Anderson, he told me before the game, he was there in person. He told me that it was going to be like the Rams Vikings game from 2018. That was a game that I was at, and that game was a 38-30 win for the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday Night Football. It's a fantastic game to be at, and it doesn't even come close to what we saw Vikings versus Bills this last Sunday. I mean, there are so many things about this game that we don't even talk about, like the fact that Christian Darrisaw got injured and Blake Brandel came in and
Right.
was fine. The fact that Andrew Booth was literally getting his first snaps of the season going against Stephon Diggs, who
Hmm.
was traded, and we got Justin Jefferson, who went up and posterized Dane Jackson, who was also in that trade. And I'm still talking in the same. It's all connected. Just crazy. Have brothers going against each other. Everybody is forgetting that it started snowing for 45 minutes during
Mhm.
that game. There's just all these things that go beyond the Josh Allen drama, the Justin Jefferson catch of the century, the fumble in the end zone. It was the craziest regular season game. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. And like the Minneapolis Miracle obviously had higher stakes, and it's nearly
Mm-hmm.
impossible to beat that singular play as far as that goes, because that's in playoffs. That's do or die. What the winning team goes on, the losing team goes home. The only way that could have been any bigger is if it was in the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. If it was later in the playoffs, that singular play. But you could do like a book on the last 2 minutes in overtime of that game. Like you could
Yeah,
seriously like write all the
yeah.
subplots. Like we haven't talked about Dalvin Cook's long run that got him kind of back into the game. Like that's an afterthought. That might not crack the top 15 plays. Like a 70+ yard touchdown run might not even get there. I mean, we have backup corners. We got Duke Shelley making a huge play in the end zone. Yeah, like you talked about Blake Randall. This, I mean, it's the old if you've seen the old SNL sketch
Duke
with
Shelley.
Stefan, the this game has everything. That's the that character, but it really did have just about everything. All the subplots. Stefan Diggs's catch was like one of the catches of the year until it wasn't even the catch of his own game and
Yeah,
the own trade he was involved in. Like that's how nuts it was. It like and it there and there was two interceptions by each quarterback like that were both of them were pretty bad. And
very
like
bad interceptions. Like,
yep, but like it was really it was such an incredible game. I still like we are 48 hours removed from that game plus, and I still like am in disbelief that I watched it. I mean, there were thank goodness my wife, she tried to take a video of me and I promised that I was going to post it on Twitter, but she did the whole backwards thing where you are supposed to she pressed stop at when she was supposed to press start and all that stuff. But I made some very unnatural noises watching that on television at home on Sunday. So it's an amazing game, and like that's man, if that makes a difference in the seeding or any part of the postseason and hopefully a long postseason run, we're going to look back on that game for years, regardless of how the season turns out. I mean, we're going to be like, oh, you remember
yeah,
that game in Buffalo? Like it was that wild.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's go to the next question. Eric, yeah, we just talked about that long touchdown. Is Dalvin Cook worth his contract?
Well, I think we discussed this a little bit right after the big extension, didn't we? I think we had a show
Hmm.
on it, and we basically both kind of agreed. It's like even the day he signed it, it was like, no, just because of the position he plays, and he wasn't worth it. It's a lot of money to pay a running back, even a very good running back. And I think and I haven't changed my opinion on that. And I think
Hmm.
overall this season, Dalvin Cook he hasn't been a buster, just a complete like he's been on the field. That's been great. Like he hasn't been
Yeah,
hurt. That's been the
yeah.
biggest part of his career so far. He has been available. That is huge. And so but I think overall after the fact that he's been on the field is great. So it's not as disappointing as other seasons, but I think it's been slightly disappointing. Like his numbers, his burst isn't quite there. I don't know how many
Hmm.
times a week we kind of see that. Oh, he almost broke it and got tripped up by the ankles. Like like he's really close to breaking them. He just hasn't had. Of course, then he does break the long one that gets him back in the game. And we aren't talking about the crazy wild comeback and finish if Dalvin Cook doesn't have that long run late in the third quarter. But yeah, again, like it's it wasn't probably worth it in when he signed it. We kind of knew it, but we really liked Dalvin Cook, and my opinion really hasn't changed since that day he signed it. I still really like Dalvin Cook. I think he's great. Like I think he's a very good running back. He's still a very important part of this offense. But yeah,
Hmm.
like if you're looking at it overall, this team is going to have as good as the vibes are and everything here. There's going to be some veteran decisions that have to be made in the 2023 season. We'll worry about that when we get there, but that's that this contract is part of why the Vikings are going to have to make some tougher decisions next year with older players.
Yeah, I think the general take still is in effect when it comes to running back, when it comes to Dalvin Cook, but he's making that decision harder every time he gets on that field. And I'm being distracted by all the spam we've got in the chat right now. That's how popular Flip. Flip and Eric are getting right now. Thank you, Dave.
We got the
Um,
bots.
but Dalvin Cook also, with all he's on the field. Number one, he's healthy. That could change during the second half of the season. He's coming up clutch. Like that game, you have to ask yourself, where are we without Dalvin Cook? That 81-yard run was huge. It was right when everybody was starting to criticize him for looking washed. But they're not going to Alex Madison, and all these games are close, so they're going with their RB1. That clearly is Dalvin Cook. You got to remember, he basically iced that Miami game as well, which was
Yep.
another huge long run for us. And I'm not going to say he's worth a $15 million cap hit that he's got next year,
Right.
but we are getting the best version of Dalvin Cook. That is for sure.
Yeah, and again, I don't want it to skew. We stand Dalvin Cook in this podcast. It's what running backs are worth these days. So just to clarify on that. All right,
Yeah.
my second question for you: the bigger surprise this season, is it Kirk Cousins or Patrick Peterson?
Well, it's certainly not Kirk Cousins. I'm
Really?
not
Okay.
surprised by anything that Kirk Cousins is doing this
Okay.
season. He is got a great wide receiver and he's maximizing him, and we've seen Kirk Cousins do that throughout his career. The interceptions are just, take the good with the bad, which you have to do with Kirk Cousins. His mobility is nice. He has slightly better pocket presence, but I mean, even Kevin O'Connell, when he's asked about, that 4th and 18 play, it's 90% Justin Jefferson and it's 10% Kirk Cousins, and the 10% him talking to Kirk Cousins is Kevin O'Connell telling Kirk, "Look, you just need to throw it to Justin Jefferson on this play." You know, so it I think several quarterbacks could be doing what Kirk is this year. Patrick Peterson is a pure renaissance man this season. With just we didn't think we were going to have a legit CB1, and Patrick Peterson, without the speed, is basically controlling, containing wide receiver one. He's not lining up, he's not shadowing them, but opposing quarterbacks pay every time they throw at Patrick Peterson's directions with path deflections, with interceptions. His recognition of the quarterback and of the play is helping the entire team, and he's leveling up the entire defensive secondary. So it's Patrick Peterson for me. It's an absolute pleasure to have him back on the team, and we didn't think he was always going to be here during the offseason.
Right. And I am going to give Patrick Peterson his flowers. That if you haven't seen the All Things Covered podcast where he breaks down basically he knew both interceptions were coming. The first one was so great in the end zone, he basically just forces his guy out of bounds, knows, and then he goes and looks for work. And meanwhile, Josh Allen is scrambling right, has no idea Peterson is just abandoning his guy because he can. The guy can't come back in and be the first guy to touch it. Picks it off. Huge play. The one in overtime,
Yeah.
he broke down. He's like, I knew what kind of route he was going to run. He's telling guys on the other sideline what he's gonna be doing. He is such a great combination of just experience and smarts. I mean, he's that just quintessential crafty veteran. That said,
Yeah.
I still think Kirk Cousins is a little more surprising than you give him credit for. I mean, first of all, the stuff on the plane, just the off the field stuff, he's a person now. He's fun. Kirk Cousins is fun. The Kirko chain stuff, that makes a difference. I'm serious. I mean, he's a human being. He's not a football robot anymore. He's not saying in the press conferences well, this is I broke this down and this I didn't want to take a risk here. He's chucking it up at least. Again, you got to give credit to KOC. They're letting Kirk
Mm-hmm.
just he can
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and make mistakes, because after that second interception against Buffalo, we have seen that before in games, and Kirk Cousins absolutely craters the remainder of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. He shuts
That
it down.
we have seen him okay, now he's checking down. He He's going way back on the Luke Braun chaos scale. He's going all the way to beta. Kirk. Like he
Yep.
still went after it. Like I think that deserves some credit because that has been surprising me. And he's not the Ron Burgundy reading whatever the defense gives him anymore. He's taking some more risks. So I got to give him credit for that. And shout out to like not just O'Connell. Like I think the Patrick Petersons and the Zadarius Smiths are kind of getting Kirk out of his shell, and that makes a difference to players. It really does. Like it in the locker room stuff. Like he's not just
Yeah.
the dorky dad anymore. And he still kind of is, but like he's leaning into the fun stuff. And this locker room, man, like it really seems to make a difference. Like they aren't playing scared. They're all playing for each other, and I think that counts for something.
Yeah. And we don't say Kirk Thuggins. That's not something we say on the show. Sorry, Michael Harrington.
No, Kirk
We're
always
going to
fine,
the
but
next
yeah,
question.
yeah.
We're going to the next question. Eric, my last question, which NFC wildcard team scares you the most?
Well, I think probably if the season ended today, kind of those things. If they ended today,
Hmm.
the Vikings would
Hmm.
be hosting the San Francisco 49ers. And I think that probably out of the potential wild card teams, probably would be the worst matchup for them. Like they're a tough
Hmm.
defense. They run the ball like crazy, and unless they can force Jimmy G into some mistakes, I am not. Jimmy G just basically steers the ship, and the rest of the talent around that team can drive it. So like that'd be one of those if the Niners get up 10-0. Even as much as the Vikings have come back, that'd be a really tough matchup. So I think right now, I personally think the 49ers are going to overtake the Seahawks and win the NFC West. I think the
Okay.
Rams are out of the equation. The Cardinals aren't going to do probably much. But I think of the remaining teams, I think we're going to learn a lot on Sunday because I think the Cowboys are definitely in that mix. The crazy thing is like the Cowboys, they're a good team. They blew it last week against Green Bay. They could have definitely ended Green Bay season. They kept them around. Thanks guys. But like they're in third place in their division, so they're probably going to be a wild card team. But we'll see how much of a difficult matchup there. But as of right now, I still think it's the Niners.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say, we still have the other wild card teams on the schedule. So we're playing the New York Giants and we're playing
Yep.
the Dallas Cowboys, this Sunday. The thing for me with the 49ers, my answer is the Cowboys. The thing for
Okay.
me as the 49ers is I don't think they've beat anybody. If people are gonna say that to the 7-1 Vikings, then you're damn sure I'm gonna say it about the 5-4 San Francisco 49ers with wins over who? Wins over the
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 Chargers don't do
Rams.
anything for you.
The Rams. No, the Chargers do
I
nothing.
know.
Nothing.
I know.
Nothing for me. The Carolina Panthers and they beat the Rams twice. No, I'm not afraid of San Francisco yet. And if they do overtake Seattle, fine, But no, it's the Dallas Cowboys for me.
Yeah, it could be well. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, shall we
Yeah,
go to my final question because that
we got a
transitions
minute.
well? Do the Vikings keep the win streak going against those Dallas Cowboys this Sunday?
I like how you phrased this question. I think this is an important game because we are playing an NFC team, not an AFC team. Those matters more for the standings, especially when we're tied at 8-1. But number
Yep.
two, that was a big time emotional game. It was a long game. A lot of injuries popped up. That feels like a playoff game. That feels like a home playoff game. And you need to have the emotional fortitude to refocus yourself after the big win in Buffalo and come play another legit team in Dallas. Do they get it done? I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm not going to bet against this team right
Love it.
now.
Love it. Yep.
Vikings 28, Cowboys 17.
I love it. Yep. And I'm worried for two reasons. Christian Darrisaw, if he's still out against that
Yeah.
Cowboys pass rush. And
Yep.
the last time we had a really huge, crazy game that involved Stephon Diggs, there was kind of a huge letdown the following week against the NFC team. So I'll still pick the Vikings to win, but the warning signs are there.
Let's go back. Let's go back
Okay.
to Philadelphia. Let's go back. Just like Chris
Just
Boyd was
just
saying
bury
on
those
Twitter.
ghosts.
I mean,
I
this
love it.
is a team that lost by double digits to the Commanders at home in a prime
Technically,
time game. Can
double
you
digits. That last
can,
play was
can
okay,
you
but yes.
imagine if Kirk Cousins was in that situation? Give
That
me
last
a
well,
break.
the week 9 game looks a lot better. Oh, you had to struggle with the Commanders. It's like, well, yeah, at least they won. Yeah,
Yeah, and we were playing at their house.
exactly.
So we got to get there though. Dallas is next. Eric, I didn't
Still a tough
did you give
stretch.
your score
Uh,
prediction?
haven't given a score prediction. I might save that for an article later. Right now, I'll say the Vikings by about 3 or 4. And I mean,
Okay.
Dallas is favored. That's odd. Does Vegas know more than we do? Just saying. No, I'm keep it going. Keep the good
Yeah.
vibes flying.
Donnie, it's always great to see you, my man. Dave, tell him what's next.
What's next is we have Vikings happy hour tomorrow night. We have Ryan and Matt with special guest Ben Gosling.
Great.
He's
That'll
going to be
fun.
joining. I do believe also that we'll get Miles there joining the crew as well. So it will be a full house and there'll be some epic talk continuing about the Buffalo game and to look forward to what he thinks about the season so far. Then, of course, we have a CTP special on Thursday night where we'll be talking with a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan. He's one of us, only for them. And that should be a good interview. You watched him last year, Mr. Billy Kramer. He's going to be telling you about the Cowboys. Then Saturday, you got myself and Darren, the two old bloggers. We'll break down the game. And then Sunday, you can join us again afterwards in the final 2 minutes like you did last Sunday for the Buffalo game. And we got bonus show because we got to sit through that overtime. Wasn't it great, Flip?
Hey, we had a great time. Thank you to the fans for tuning into that show. We got so many views, so many new subscribers. So happy to have y'all, especially because for half of that show, it was just the background. Flip was a ghost. So we appreciate y'all. We got to figure out, Dave, you got to have like a cartoon cutout of me to put in the chair.
I could do that. I can't do that. But it's fun to hear you yell from the other room, especially when you were behind us. Well, and of course for that show, Matt was in the stadium. And he was holding up his phone, and we were seeing it, right? Even before the live broadcast, we were seeing some of the results. Yeah. And it was just, and then we'd get Matt's reaction, and he'd be yelling and screaming, and we were like, what? And we'd see it on the TV, not, 5-10 seconds later, and we're screaming. And then about 30 seconds later, you'd hear Flip yell from his living room as he saw it. It was wonderful. We had a great time. It was awesome. And it was our most viewed show ever. We set a record on that, and we appreciate that. You guys, you make it all worth it. You are our community, and we can't appreciate you enough. You guys rock, and 100%. We want to keep it that way, and we want to grow it. So,
all right, y'all. Well, till next time.
What do we say?
Skol Vikes.
Skol Vikings. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a special shout out goes to our partners, the Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found, and to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody.